I'm Justine Bowers from Slice Communications, and I'll be your host for tonight. Through this chat, we hope you learn about cooking with charcoal, and every question you have been dying to ask Barbecue Bob is answered. Today, we're chatting with Bob Trundak of Barbecue Guru. I would like to remind everyone before we begin to please send your questions to us during the chat. You can do this two ways. Tweet them at Barbecue Guru using the hashtag #BackyardChat, or post them to the Barbecue Facebook page. You may also continue to invite your friends who can log on anytime during the chat by sending the link to them via Facebook or Twitter. The link will be available on the Facebook page as well as the Twitter page. Make sure to stay on until the end of the chat because the topics will change based on questions that come in. Okay, Bob, before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about your expertise?
Yeah, sure. I started working for the company Barbecue Guru in 1999, and we started building our first products in 2004 and became interested in, real barbecue. I've been cooking on charcoal since I was about 7 years old, when I built my first wood fire in the backyard. Parents didn't like it, but hey, I was destined for that. So I've been cooking a long time. I've been doing competitive barbecue since probably 2004, 2005, and it's just been a wonderful ride, and been doing it ever since.
Awesome. That's a long time, 7 years old. All right, so let's get started with some questions. We're going to start basic. Let's start with the most common question that we get. Why charcoal?
Why charcoal? Well, there's a lot of people on both sides of the charcoal and gas fence, but it's really just about having fun and being out in the backyard. The flavors were wonderful. Playing with the charcoal and the fire is a great aspect. That's what we like to do. But it's more about the challenge. It's not just turning on the gas and throwing your food on. It's about learning it and perfecting it, and then using the right tools to make it what you want to be. But charcoal, the flavor, the smoke, being able to get a higher range or lower range of temperatures are all some of the reasons that I love cooking on charcoal.
That makes sense. It's a really hands-on activity that you can control the outcome, and then you get a finished product to see what you've really done yourself. I also have gotten a lot of questions from some viewers asking what the best way to light charcoal is. Could you give them a little bit of your knowledge on how you light your charcoal grill?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to light charcoal. You can use paraffin wax cubes. You can use oil on a paper towel. You can use a torch. You can use some sticks or things like that. But I like to have a torch. It gives me the biggest flame, and I like flames. But having a propane torch or a MAP gas torch handy and nestling it down in the charcoal for a few minutes, it's quick, it's easy. You don't want to let your little kids do it, but you just have to be careful with it. It's a little dangerous. But I think the torch is the way to go, and paraffin cubes and wax and things like that are also great ways to light your charcoal.
Good to know. So if we want to have a lot of fun with our fire, we should use the torch. We had a viewer ask us how he should deal with flare-ups when cooking with charcoal. Are these flare-ups that you're going to get when you use different things with lighting it?
Well, a lot of times flare-ups come from the grease coming off of the food. So, if you're cooking at a high temperature, you're cooking steaks and burgers and things like that, keep the lid closed. Don't turn your food too often. If you're opening the grill every 2 or 3 minutes, you're going to get a lot of flare-ups. But keep it closed. Turn it once. Some people keep a spray bottle. You can douse the flames with a little water. But I think if you're, for the most part, if you're slow cooking, you're not going to see the flare-ups. But if you're grilling, keep an eye on it. You can also cook indirect, where you're not dripping right onto the fire. Or you can also cook at a higher level. Instead of being real close to the coals, maybe you want to be, a foot up or 14 inches up off of the coals, and that'll help as well.
That's good advice. I know that everybody likes to open their oven just when they're cooking indoors to check on everything often. We want to make sure they don't do that. Another general question we have from some viewers too is if you could explain the difference between wood chips and wood chunks, and do you recommend one?
Well, they're basically the same things, different sizes. So, you take a wood split and you can chip it up into small pieces, or you can just have a wood chunk, which is about, the size of your fist. And I think people who use wood chips they tend to do that for faster cooks. If I'm doing a pork loin or some chicken, I don't want a lot of smoke on that. A wood chunk will give you a couple hours of smoke. Wood chips burn up quicker. One of the tricks that some people do is soak them in water to prevent that. But, a handful of chips when you're cooking a pork loin or a whole chicken is fine. If you're doing briskets, pork butt, bigger cuts of meat, then I think the chunks are better for that reason.
Good to know. So it really depends on the meat you're cooking. That's good advice. We also have a couple questions on the difference between the dome and the grate temperature. Can you explain to our viewers the actual difference?
Well, I think dome and grate refers to like a ceramic grill or maybe even a Weber Smoky Mountain, something that has a rounded lid. And in that round lid is a thermometer. And then below that thermometer, maybe 8, 10, 12 inches below that, is the cooking grate. That's your grate temp. So a lot of times when you're cooking indirect, the heat will come up around the food and it settles in the top, and that's always hotter. So your dome temperature is most of the time hotter than your grate temperature. Your food's on the grate. So I like to cook by grate temperature. I like to place my probe on the grate next to the food. I'm getting a truer reading. But if you are following the recipe by dome temperature, by all means, place your probe on the dome and go by that. But just understand it's going to be hotter in the dome than it is on the grate next to your food.
Okay, great advice. So I also just want to quickly pause and remind all of our viewers that they can invite their friends to log on anytime during the chat, and that they can ask their questions on the Facebook page, Barbecue Guru, as well as at @barbecue_guru on Twitter using the hashtag #BackyardChat. So let's get into a couple questions about the products. I know that Barbecue Guru has some great products out there, and we've been getting tons of questions about them. First one being, how exactly do the barbecue controls work?
Okay, well, think of it as in separate components. You have your control, which is the brain of the operation, where you set your temperature. You have probes that come from the control into the cooking area, typically one for your cooking temperature and one or more for your meat. And then you have a fan, and the fan is what stokes the fire. It's what blows air in so that the coals can keep lit. And then you have your adapter. So you set your control to a certain temperature that you want to cook at. You place your fan into the lower end where your coals are with the adapter, and you place your probe in the cooker. Now the fan will start running based on the temperature you set, and the probe is heating up at that point. So when the probe gets close to temperature, then it's telling the control, okay, we're getting close, let's start to back off a little bit. And we want to maintain this temperature, so we're going to pulse the air as needed. And what it's doing is the brain of the control is pulsing air, and then it's calculating what it needs to do next to maintain that temperature. It's learning as it goes. So if you're opening the lid a lot during the beginning of that cook, it's trying to recalculate. You want to just let it go, let it do its thing. Barbecue Guru, bring your control up to temperature, and you'll have a very successful, steady cook.
Awesome. That's great advice and a very cool product. Can you also tell the viewers what they can cook with the barbecue controls? Can you cook any type of meat, or is there a specific one that you recommend?
Well, it's all about temperature range. So our controls go from 32 degrees Fahrenheit to 475. Well, obviously not going to cook at 32, but that's just the range of the control. So for cold smoking, for drying jerky and fruits and things like that, for barbecue temperatures, 225 to 300. Baking, roasting, anything up to 475. Even if it's a 1-hour cook, if you're doing a pork loin for 1 hour and 15 minutes, throw your Barbecue Guru around there. Let it take control. Have a beer, relax, watch the news, and it'll control it for you. So really anything in that range up to 475 is good for the Barbecue Guru.
Okay, Great, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Can you also explain to the viewers how exactly the barbecue controls are powered? We've gotten a lot of questions that they're not sure if anything needs to be plugged in. Is it battery operated? Is it anything like that?
Okay, well, we have three main controls right now in the market. The PartyCue, which is kind of our entry-level battery-operated model, runs on 4 AA's. It's 5 volt. So it's literally plug and play. It comes with an adapter. You order it with an adapter for your grill. You plug it in, and it's all 5 volt. So that'll run for about 25 to 40 hours, depending on where you're cooking and your outside temperature. The DigiCue and the CyberCue Wi-Fi are 12 volt, and they come with a power pack to plug into household power. So it converts it down to 12 volt to run the fan, but you are plugging that into household power, or you can get a portable 12 volt power source to run it.
Okay, great. So is there also a few questions that our viewers have asked is if there is an exact science to connecting the barbecue guru control to the grill or smoker. Is there a specific way that they're supposed to do this? If they don't do it right, could it potentially mess up their slow cooking experience?
Okay. Well, it's very easy for most cookers. If you look at ceramic grills, there's a damper down there already, a slide damper that we make an adapter for. So no tools required. You're basically placing our adapter into their slide track and then closing their track over. So there's no wrong way to do that. On the Weber Smoky Mountains, same way. There's already a damper down there. When you start getting into, Weber kettles, offset smokers, some drum smokers where we don't have an adapter that fits exactly, then you're going to use one of our universal adapters and you're going to drill a hole. And depending on the cooker and the adapter you use, you'll drill anywhere from a 7/8 to 1 3/8 hole. And you want to do that just below the fire. So the point is, you want air coming into the firebox area and feeding the fire. So you're just providing fresh air just below. So about an inch below your charcoal grate or your wood grate is where you would mount our adapters. The fan blows in, fire absorbs it, stack draws it through, and that's the most efficient way. You don't want to be above the fire or at the level of the fire because it's very hot there and your air is going to pass by the fire and go out instead of going in under and feeding the fire.
That's great advice, and I know for all of those barbecue guru newbies out there, that's definitely something that they can take and actually use in their own daily life. I also want to pause right now and just let everyone know that they can still submit their questions for Bob at any time during this chat. We will be checking Facebook and Twitter. You can submit on the Facebook page, Barbecue Guru, as well as on Twitter at @barbecue_guru using the hashtag #BackyardChat. All right, Bob, let's jump into some specific questions that we have received from viewers. The first one says, I bought a Guru in hopes to be able to use it mostly during tailgate season this year. Will the weather affect my Guru at all?
Weather affect your Guru. Depends on the weather. But if you know it's going to be heavy rain, you want to cover the control head. It is an electronic. We are taking steps to make them more weather resistant. You're going to see that in the future. But you want to keep the control head covered, a Ziploc bag, put your cooker under a canopy, something to keep the heavy rain off. Also, we provide you with a stand. It's a stainless steel stand that the control fits into, and that allows it to sit upright. If you place it in the stand, now the plug end underneath where it's vulnerable will be protected from the rain. If you lay your control flat on a surface, now that's all exposed to rain being able to get in there, and that's where you can get water damage. So keep it on the stand. If you know there's going to be heavy rain coming during a cook, cover it with a Ziploc, put a canopy over, do something to cover the control. The probe wires and the fan can take all the rain Mother Nature can provide.
Okay, good to know. So in the rain, make sure you cover the Guru. You don't want any of those electronics getting wet. We have a question that just came into us via Twitter, and it says, how do you know how much to clean a smoker or cooker?
How do you know how much to clean it?
Yes.
A lot of people say, you never clean it because that's where all the flavor is. But that's how you get, grease fires and things like that. So, if you're cooking a lot, then you want to get in there every couple cooks, scrape it down, clean your grates, make sure it's clean. You know, I've seen pits that have an inch of grease all over the walls, and you don't want that to happen. So get in there every couple cooks, clean off the walls, clean the grates, make sure you don't want to avoid any type of grease fire, because if that grease buildup gets in there and it gets too hot, you're going to open that door and you won't have any eyebrows left.
Not good. We like our eyebrows. We do not want any grease fires. So we will make sure to clean it just often enough that we get enough flavor, but not too often that we lack all of our flavor. So another question we have from a viewer says, I bought a Guru for my father, but I'm not sure if I should get a fan for his smoker as well. Is this necessary when using the control?
He bought a Guru and he's looking to see if he wants a fan. Well, yeah, like I said, the three components, or the four components that make up the system, are the control, the probes, the fan, and the adapter. So if you want to control your cooker, you need the fan. That's what's going to blow air, fresh air into the fire to maintain a temperature. If you don't have the fan, you're just monitoring. You can use it as a monitor, but if you want the total package, get the fan.
Good to know. Total package, Guru, and fan. So we have another question that says, I have a big green egg and just recently bought a Guru to go along with it, but I am not sure what size hole I should be drilling in order to mount your adapter. Can you give him some advice on some recommendations on holes that he should be drilling and the size of them?
Yes. The hole you will drill in your ceramic cooker is non-existent. Do not drill a hole in your ceramic cooker. It comes with a hole already. It's the bottom slide vent. We don't want you drilling through ceramic. Other cookers, yes, but ceramics, we make a ceramic style adapter, and that fits most ceramic grills. We also make manufacturer specific adapters, but you don't need to drill in the ceramic. Give us a call, we'll help you through it. There's a lot of videos out there, and you'll be just fine.
Perfect, good to know. No drilling in ceramic grills. So another question we got is also along the same lines, but switching a little bit to competitive cooking. So this viewer says, I just recently got into charcoal and slow cooking much more competitively, and I was wondering if the food probe and pit probe were interchangeable.
That's a great question, because we get that all the time. And even though they look different, one is long and pointy and the other one's short with an alligator clip, they are the same exact probe, just different tips. So if you ever get into a bind, I know most of us have, you know, maybe you damage your pit probe or the dog chewed it up or whatever it was, you can remove the alligator clip from the pit probe. It is removable. It's made that way for cleaning. So you don't have to worry, you know, if the alligator clip falls off, you didn't damage your probe. It's meant to be removed. Pull it off the damaged probe, stick it on the end of the food probe, now you got a backup. And we sell accessory probes, we sell backup probes on our website, so you'll have extras. But as long as you take care of them, and you don't pinch them into tight places, or like I said, the dog doesn't chew them up, they'll last you a long time.
Good advice. Keep all of your pit probes away from your dog. We have another question that is along the sides of buying gifts for your husband. So this one says, I am very new to the world of charcoal, and my wife just surprised me with a barbecue guru, the CyberQ Wi-Fi, which is awesome. Congratulations. Where do I clip the pit probe?
Where do you clip your pit probe? Did we discuss what kind of grill that is?
We did not.
Okay, so in general, you want to clip to the cooking grate. So I like it to be close to the meat, but you don't want it to touch the meat. If it's touching the meat, there's cool vapors that are coming off the meat, and the meat itself is much colder than the cooking air. So it'll give you a false reading, and it'll stoke your fire to the point where it gets too hot. So you want to be right around the meat, but not touching the meat. So the two pieces of advice I can give is either to the cooking grate close to the meat, or if you're using a meat probe, there's a bend in the meat probe that's usually a couple inches away from the meat. Slip it to that bend, and that'll give you the most accurate temperature.
Perfect. Good to know. So this question that we got is a little bit more technical. This person has two actually, Brinkmann Pitmaster Deluxe smokers with side firebox that he is wondering which is the best control to use with those specific smokers. Do you have any advice for him?
Yes, I do. Out of the three main controls, the DigiQ2 and the CyberQ Wi-Fi are the ones you want to look at. The PartyQ is meant for small cookers and has a built-in 6.5 CFM fan. It's for kettles, ceramics. You do not want to use that. But the DigiQ and the CyberQ Wi-Fi are meant to be used with bigger fans and multiple fans. So you can use any one of those depending on the features you like. If you're a tech guy and you want to use Wi-Fi, go for the CyberQ Wi-Fi by all means. It has three meat probes, pit probe. It's for the technical guy. If you want just something simple, you want to be able to see the temperature from a distance, set it up, walk away, not even think about it, that's the DigiQ2 or DX2. And that's what I have here. That's what I'm using at home because I have so many distractions here throughout the day that I don't have time to look at it while I'm cooking. So I set it and forget it with the DigiQ. But you want to use one of those two. You're going to probably want to use one or two of our 25 CFM fans, our universal bulkhead adapters, which you can drill holes for into the cooker, and you'll be good to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving him that advice. So our next question, I believe, came through maybe the UK. It says, which insulated cooker or smoker would you recommend for a mom and dad type barbecue cafe? Do you have any reasons why, and what would you recommend?
Wow. I was just in the UK. It's an awesome place. Well, we have this beautiful Onyx oven right here. That would be great for, cooking for anywhere from, 10 to 50 people. I think you want to look at your laws, whether you're cooking indoors or outdoors, this cafe. If you're indoor, you may need a hood to exhaust air. But, there's a lot of different cookers out there. Give me a call, give me some more specifics. We can talk about it by phone. But again, if you can cook with charcoal indoors and you have a hood, take a look at our Onyx ovens. They're great. They're very precise temperature control. Board of Health loves them because of that. But give us a call. We'll talk through it.
We always like making the Board of Health happy, so that's good to know. So the next question comes from a gentleman who lives in Florida, and he says, I live in Florida and it rains frequently during the summer. I don't think that's any surprise to us. I am also a new CyberQ Wi-Fi owner, and I'm cautious of exposing the device to moisture and water when it rains. Other than putting the device and a power cord in a plastic bag or box outside during a cook, do you have any plans for a water-resistant case for the device, or do you have any third-party recommendations for a product?
It's called an Easy Up. Put the Easy Up over the cooker, and it won't rain on it. No, but we are working on things to help, like I said, give the controls water and weather resistance. And it's kind of in the preliminary stages, so I can't get too involved with it. But we are working on things, and like I said, just try to keep it covered any way possible. It is an electronic, but we are working to weatherproof these better and better.
Okay, great to know. So it's something in the future and to look forward to. Otherwise, put that tent right up over your smoker. So we have a question that comes in from a guy who acknowledges himself as a data nerd. He says, would it be possible to purchase just the CyberQ Wi-Fi thermometer without the temperature control elements? I have an electric smoker in the city. He's starting small, so he does not need the temperature control. However, he's a bit of a data nerd and would like to wirelessly collect data on meat and smoker temperature without having to manually punch in text. If someone hasn't done this yet, he'd be happy to test out the functionality, he says.
Oh, cool. All right, so there's two-part answer to that question. Yes, you can use the control to monitor. You do not have to hook up the fan. Even though it's going to call for the fan, you're going to see it wanting to run the fan. You just don't hook the fan up. And then you can use it to monitor everything you're doing. And there's, a few apps out there for the CyberQ Wi-Fi, Barbecue Remote, the PitPal, We Do Net. There's all kinds of great apps out there. Plus, it serves its own web page if you want to use ours. And you can use it to monitor. But we do make a product called the Power Raptor. And the Power Raptor is used in place of the fan, and it's specifically for electric smokers. So it's an on-off relay. And what it does is it connects to our control, and then your electric smoker plugs into the Power Raptor. Power Raptor plugs into the wall. Now it takes over the control of your smoker, and now it's being controlled by our DigiQ or our CyberQ Wi-Fi, instead of the control that's on the electric smoker itself, which is a little more vague. So now you can be more precise, use our control, the Power Raptor, on your electric smoker, and it's pretty brilliant.
Good to know. So the data nerd can collect all his data that he wants. Perfect. So another question coming in from a viewer via Twitter says, when using a PartyQ to control the cooking temperature, does that mean adjustable cooking height is no longer needed?
Adjustable cooking height. So I'm assuming he has something like a hasty bake or something where you can raise and lower your charcoal pan to get hotter or cooler. And the answer to that is yes, you do not have to adjust it. What you would do is lower it to a position where you think is good for slow cooking, and then you mount your PartyQ in or your control in at that level. So now you won't have to raise and lower it. The control will heat, or you can set the temperature you want on the control, and it will give you that by just blowing air onto the coals. So you don't have to raise it for hotter temperatures and lower for lower temperatures. The control will do that for you.
Oh, perfect. So it seems like the control kind of does it all for you. That's great. So another question we had come in about the PartyQ as well says, does the PartyQ work only for barbecues of a certain volume?
Well, we have different fan sizes for different size cookers. So if you were using a medium or small or large ceramic grill, maybe you'd only want a 6.5 or a 10 CFM fan. If you're running a 250-gallon oil tank with a big 36-inch firebox, you're going to want to run 2 of our 25 CFM fans. So we make them for all shapes, sizes, models. We have it all. So just give us a call and we'll fit it to your cooker.
Perfect. So glad, so nice that you're so helpful with everyone here. So another question we had come in via Facebook says, briquettes or lumpwood? I feel like I'm cheating with bricks, but I get a longer burn. Do you have any personal recommendations on whether or not you prefer briquettes or lumpwood?
Well, I think there's some better quality briquettes coming out into the market, and people are successful with briquettes. But you got to watch what briquette you use, in my opinion. A lot of briquettes are made with binders and fillers, and you have to wait till they ash over. So you're using a lot of that heat to get ready for the cook, but you're not using it to cook. And lump, some people say it burns a little hotter. I guess it depends on the lump. But it's an all-natural wood, charred wood. So you don't have to wait for it to ash over. You get typically a lot less ash with lump charcoal. And I think it's a better product in general. I like it better. But again, if you are going to use a briquette, look for an all-natural briquette. And do some testing, play around, do some cooks with different charcoals, find out what you like, and use that.
That's great advice. It really probably does depend on what you like. So test a few and go from there. So we have another question, and I love the way he starts it. He says, don't laugh, but what do you have for temperature management for a Brickman smoking grill?
Brickman smoking grill. Okay, so off the top of my head, I'm not sure if that's a vertical smoker or if that's an offset smoker, but I'm going to address both of them. If it's a vertical smoker, then you want to make sure first that it's sealed. You don't want a vertical, or you don't want a smoker that's open on the bottom and then has openings on the top, so the air can rush in. You want to make sure it's sealed. If it's sealed, you can use our control on there because you only want our air going into the cooker. So look at that. If you're talking about the Brinkmann offset smokers, then you want to use our DigiQ or our CyberQ Wi-Fi. Depending on the size of the firebox is the size of the fan and how many fans. Typically, we look at them like if it's up to 18-inch square firebox, it's going to use one of our 25 CFM fans. If it's over 18-inch square, you're going to want to use two of our 25 CFM fans. So use that as a guideline. Take a look on our website. We have a whole list of cookers and what they take. If you don't see it or you're a little confused by it, give us a call and we'll be happy to help you through it.
Awesome. Very good advice. I hope that answered that gentleman's question. Then we have another question that also came in via Twitter that says, what is your ideal setup for a Weber Smoky Mountain 22-inch cooker? That's a very exact question.
It is. Well, it's a very popular cooker, so we get that all the time. And the 22.5-inch Weber Smoky Mountain, very popular, very good cooker. And you can use any one of our controls on there. So the PartyQ with the 6.5 CFM fan will run it very nicely. If you want to use our DigiQ or CyberQ, you want to use a 10 CFM fan, just because that's the lowest size fan that comes with that control. And then you want to use our small universal Weber adapter. And what's nice about the Weber Smoky Mountain, both the 18.5-inch and the 22.5-inch, is there's dampers in place already at the bottom. You do not have to drill into it. You close two of the dampers off, open fully one of the dampers, connect our adapter through it, and tape the other two holes in that adapter, in that plate, and you're good to go. There's no tools required. Plug it in and cook.
Perfect. So now I actually have a question that I believe you may have answered, but please tell me if I'm wrong. And if you have, we will move on to the next one. But it says, what fan do you really recommend for a 22.5-inch Weber Smoky Mountain? I currently have a 10 CFM.
Oh, that's perfect. 10 CFM is perfect for the 22. So, you know, the 25 CFM fan is really meant for small offsets and bigger cookers, some big drum smokers. So you have the right fan for the 22.5-inch.
Perfect. Sounds like he is good to go then. So another question that we had come in also from the UK says, hey Bob, what do you think of flavored wood chips when barbecuing on charcoal? Do you think they affect the flavor of the meat? And what flavors would you recommend if you like them?
All right. Well, I mean, wood chips are, you know, great. That's what provides you with the flavor of the food. Charcoal is going to give you so much flavor, and then smoke wood is going to give you the real flavor, or a stronger flavor. I like cooking with fruit woods. That's just me personally. So apple, cherry, peach, pecan, they're all great woods to cook with. It's all about moderation. It's all about not over smoking the food, in my opinion. People who say they don't like barbecue have probably had barbecue that was way over smoked. But if it's done right and you use just the right amount, you know, use maybe a half a handful for smaller meats and 1 or 2 handfuls for larger meats, and it's an ingredient in the cook, it's not overpowering, then you'll be fine. And fruit woods are lighter than, you know, like your hickory and mesquite. Use everything in moderation, combine woods, try some different things, and I think you'll be very happy with that.
That's great advice, because I know me as a charcoal newbie that I would always assume hickory or one of those heavier woods. I never would have thought fruit woods would be something that we would go with. So I also want to remind viewers that you can submit your questions anytime during this chat via the Facebook page. I know a lot of you like the post that we were about to start this chat, so ask your questions, as well as on Twitter at @barbecue_guru using the hashtag #BackyardChat. I know Bob would be more than happy to answer anything that comes his way. So let's jump into a few recipe questions. I know that you were just at a competition this weekend. I'm sure that you can probably share some of the recipes you cooked there, as well as some of your favorite things to cook. So right now, we have a couple questions from a viewer. The first one says, I just bought a smoker, never used one before. Do you have any suggestions for a good rib rub and a sauce?
Okay, well, I mean, there's a ton of rib rubs and sauces out there. Hundreds, thousands. We carry a lot of the good ones. But, you know, for ribs, you want something that's got a little heat and a little sweet combination. We sell Dizzy Pig rubs. We sell the slabs. We sell Plowboys. There's just a ton of great. Three Eyes barbecue is a great rib rub. Look for something that maybe is not as peppery. You're going to have different rubs for different meats, but it all comes down to what you like. But I think ribs and pork, you can have a rub that has a little sweetness to it. It lends itself well to pork. So check out any of the ones I've mentioned. There's a lot of great ones out there, and you can look on our website. We have a whole sauce and rub section. We've hand-picked those sauces and seasonings because we know their quality. And actually, we're looking for more, so give us a call if you have a rib rub that you love, or any rub or sauce. Blues Hog, as far as sauces, Head Country, there's a lot of great ones out there. Eat Barbecue is another good one. There's so many. Try them and see what you like. But come to our website and check out the rubs and sauces. I think you'll be pretty happy with most of them.
Well, this is a great segue to our next viewer question from Crystal and Tony. They are actually currently using some Barbecue Gurus rubs. They wanted to let us know. And they also asked, I'm going to be cooking a brisket, and I'm wondering how long to cook it.
Okay. The simple answer is until it's done. But if you want to elaborate a little bit, it really depends on the brisket. You're looking for tenderness. And a brisket's a really tough piece of meat. It's not easy to cook if you don't have experience cooking it, and you just want to make sure it's done properly. I get people that call me all the time and say, I overcooked my brisket, it's tough as a boot. Well, you didn't overcook your brisket, you undercooked your brisket. If it's overcooked, then it falls apart. If it's undercooked, then those muscle tissues didn't break down enough, and it's going to be tough. So, general rule, okay, start at 250 degrees. Just try this. Set your cooker to 250. Season your brisket up. Put it on the cooker. About 4 or 5 hours into it, when it hits that 160 to 170 range, wrap it in foil. And I know some people don't like wrapping, but just try this. Wrap it tight in foil and put a little beef broth or something in there. Tighten it back up. Put it in the cooker. And when it gets into that 190 range, start probing it, or use your meat probe and check the temperature. When it gets in that 190 range, hit it with a probe or a toothpick or something, and you want it to feel like there's no resistance. If you push it in, and it's tough to push in, and it comes out and there's tug, it's not done yet. If you push it in and pull it back out, and it's like butter, it's done and it's going to be awesome. And you want to let it rest. So take it out of the cooker while it's still in the foil, throw it in a dry cooler, forget about it for 3 hours, and slice it up. It'll be the best brisket you ever had.
You're making my mouth water over here. I know that you said that some people hate wrapping. Is there a reason that people hate wrapping?
Some people like to have what's called a bark. It's a crust that the rub forms as it cooks, and that is wonderful. I love it, and I do that too. But it's just two different methods. I do both successfully. Other people, do that successfully. But wrapping it to me just gives you a juicier piece of meat. And if you have a lower quality brisket, then you may want to try wrapping it because there's not a lot of fat content. So try that. Either way, it's going to be fine, but just try that method. You'll like it.
Good advice. I believe everyone will probably start trying to wrap that, especially if they have a lower quality brisket. Another question that we just got through Twitter says, I have a 7-pound pork roast bone-in. Can you suggest a cooking time for oven cooking? So this person, I suppose we would probably recommend that they cook it on charcoal or in maybe the Onyx oven perhaps, but they are doing it in the oven. Do you have any recommendations for them?
Well, either way, it's going to be around the same. The bone-in pork roast could be one of two things. It could be a pork loin that has like the ribs on it. It could be a rib roast, or it could be a bone-in pork butt. I'm going to assume it's a bone-in pork butt. If it is, then it's a lot like a brisket, and you want to cook it till it's nice and tender. And I'm gonna guess 20 to 30 minutes a pound, but I never go by that. I'm going to do the same thing. Try 250, go about 4 or 5 hours, wrap it, and then take it to the end in that same range, 200, 190 to 200. Check it for tenderness, and we'll be done. But at 250, it's going to take about 10 or 11 hours. And then if you're going to cook at 275, you reduce the time. If you're going to cook at 225, raise the time. But I don't want to cook a brisket or a pork butt for 18 hours, so that's why I bring it up to a higher temperature.
That makes sense. 18 hours is a long time. So I know that you and I were actually talking about this before the chat, but it's actually a good segue to one of our Twitter questions that just came in, and they are wondering if you can recommend any gluten-free barbecue sauces or rubs. I know that that's something that a lot of people are dealing with recently.
Yes, they are. And I don't have a good grasp on gluten-free rubs and sauces, but I know that I believe Three Eyes Barbecue is gluten-free. I use Head Country for catering. That's gluten-free. But you really want to check your labels. You want to call your companies and ask them. I do that for catering all the time. If I'm going to use a product, I make sure it's gluten-free because we have a lot of gluten-free customers. So I think the best thing you do is read the label, call the company, and see what you're eating before you eat it.
Great advice. And it's also very nice of you to make sure that you are catering to your gluten-free community as well when you're cooking. So we have another general question in regards to the smokers and the weather. So this guy would like to know, how does the wind affect his smoker?
Okay. Well, wind can affect your smoker in many ways, but at night, your temperature can drop, the wind can pick up during a cook, and if you're just using open dampers, you're using your dampers to control the temperature, the more air that gets through there, the more it's going to raise your temperature. So now you have to be conscious of that, you have to be aware of that, and now start to close your dampers down to accommodate for the wind. When you're using our control, it eliminates that. There's no outside air getting in, so wind changes, in direction, especially if your firebox is facing a certain way, temperature drops, rain to cool things down. That's no longer an issue because the control figures that out and makes up for it. So there's a lot of changes that can happen if you're cooking without a barbecue guru, but if you use one, you'll be happy you did.
Good to know. The barbecue guru controls the wind, so we will definitely let them know that the barbecue guru will help them in all of those weather-related issues. So another question that we just had come in, a little bit more general, says that they are interested in a new charcoal grill, but they are an at-home cook and only entertain small groups. Do you recommend a charcoal grill to entertain small groups?
Well, I am going to go back to the Onyx oven here. It's a beautiful little cooker that you can entertain small groups, big groups. There's a lot of great ones out there. The ceramic grills, Big Green Egg is a wonderful cooker. Find one in your price point, something that you'd like to spend the money on, use it, and the Webers, the Big Green Eggs, all the ceramic cookers out there are great. Take a look at our Onyx oven, and you'll be happy with that.
Awesome. And is there a good price point that you would recommend someone that's entertaining small groups? Is the Big Green Egg that you mentioned a couple times kind of the more of the good price point for them to be looking into?
Well, you get what you pay for. And the Big Green Egg is going to last you a very long time. Yeah, a lot of these ceramic cookers are built to last. So take a look at the quality, take a look at the thickness, whether it's metal or ceramic. Take a look at the craftsmanship. And, some grills and smokers are meant to be a stepping process, to be a stepping stone for the next one. So maybe you start out with a $200 or $300 grill or smoker, and then you have that for a few years, and then you step up to a $500 or $600, and then work your way up. I think that's the way most people do it, and that's pretty smart.
That makes sense. Kind of get your feet wet with the lower end grills and smokers, and then kind of work your way up to the more competitive style cooking. So this is a very specific question. I know that you keep mentioning the Onyx oven that has come through Twitter. It says, I have an Onyx oven, and I'm having problems getting the whole firebox to burn. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I do. If it's burning to one side or the other, then what you want to do is build your coals up when you're first lighting the control and putting the charcoal in. Build your coals up around the center, kind of peak it a little bit. Light the center, and then light both sides well. If you light one side more than the other, and you don't put coals over the center, one side can take over. And I think that's common in a lot of these cabinet smokers. But make sure you mount it up nicely, and you light it in a few different spots, and make sure you light it well on both sides, and you'll be fine. And if it does burn to one side or the other, I think you'll notice that it doesn't affect the cooking temperature that much. I've had that happen, and I've been cooking chicken on the top rack, and I've had about 16 or 18 pieces of chicken, and the one in the back right was just as done in the front left. So it's not going to affect the cook, but try what I said as far as lighting the charcoal, and I think you'll see a big difference.
That's great advice, and it's also really good to know that it shouldn't be affecting the actual way the food cooks, because I'm sure that's probably his biggest concern. So then we also have another recipe question come in. It says, how do you keep less fatty meat like chicken from drying out? I know that's probably a lot of problems that people have had. I know that you recommended earlier wrapping the brisket. Is this something you would recommend for chicken?
It depends on the piece of chicken. Thigh's going to cook different than a breast, than a leg, than a wing. But I think the key is knowing your internal temperatures for each meat. And if you know what the best internal done temperature is, and you're checking it, you're going to have a great product every time. So a chicken thigh or a chicken leg can take 185, 190, or higher, where a chicken breast, 160 is done. A chicken wing, you cook it to 205, it's still going to be juicy. There's a lot of fat in there. But knowing your internal temperatures and what's best there is the key to having a successful cook every time and not drying out your food.
Awesome. That's good to know. And I know that a lot of people, especially for like family cookouts and things like that, they're going to be using the chicken, which you definitely don't want to dry it out. You want to impress your family and friends. So another general question that we had come in about charcoal says, how long should you heat the charcoal before you put the food on? Is there a specific temperature, a specific time? What do you recommend?
Well, like I said earlier, with the briquettes, you want them to ash over first. You want to get rid of the fillers and binders that are holding them together. With lump, you don't need to do that. But what you want to do is set your control up, set your barbecue control up, let the control bring the cooker up to temperature. Once it's there, put your food on. I don't personally throw my food on and then let it all come up to temperature. I want it to cook evenly all the way through. So wait till you're at temperature. It could take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, depending on the cooker you have and how you lit it, and put your food on, and you'll be fine.
Awesome. That is great to know. So I want to quickly pause and let all of our viewers know that we still have about 10 minutes left. So if they want to get any of their questions answered by Bob, to submit them via our Facebook page, Barbecue Guru, as well as on Twitter, at barbecue_guru with the hashtag backyard chat. We know that he is here and ready to answer all of your questions, so go ahead and submit. So we have another question that says, when should you put sauce and rubs on the meat? Should you do that right away? Should you do that halfway? Or should you be continuously putting those sauces and rubs on the meat?
Okay, that's an easy one. I think most people will tell you your rub is what you want to put on the meat prior to cooking it. That's what's going to give you the bark, the flavor. The meat's going to absorb that and give you a wonderful flavor. Now, some people don't put sauce on their meat at all. It's that whole wet versus dry thing. And I like them both, but I do tend to like dry barbecue better than wet. If you're going to sauce your meat, you want to do that for the last few minutes of the cook. Cook it through. Make sure your meat is to the right temperature. Then you can sauce it. And you can either sauce it and serve it, or you can sauce it and put it back on the cooker and let the sauce set and caramelize a little bit, and it gives you kind of a stickiness. That's great. So don't put sauce on in the beginning. Let it cook with the rub. That's going to give you all the flavor you need, and then give it a little bit of sauce at the end, and that is perfect barbecue.
I am so hungry over here. That is great advice. I think everybody is thinking right now that they need to go outside and start cooking up some barbecue. So we have a question come through Twitter. I think this one will be a very easy one for you to answer. What is your favorite kind of meat to cook?
What's my favorite kind of meat to cook? I love cooking beef ribs, and I do like brisket, even though I cook brisket week in and week out at barbecue competitions. It's the only meat I'll sit and make a sandwich with. But I love beef ribs. I love chicken, and I like trying new stuff. Things that you don't normally see cooked. So I'll play with, duck and buffalo and bison and all kinds of stuff. But beef ribs are probably one of my favorites.
What is the strangest thing that you have cooked using a barbecue guru?
The strangest thing that I have cooked? I have no idea. I mean, I have cooked desserts and brownies and cookies, and I cook anything you can cook indoors. I'm cooking outdoors. So I don't know if I cooked anything really strange, but a lot of desserts and things like that.
I know that you recently wrote an article, or not an article, but a recipe that was a vegan barbecue recipe. Was that hard for you to come up with since you're used to cooking meat?
No, because I cook a lot of vegetables, and it was a vegan chili, so I just basically took the meat out. That was black beans and onions and peppers and all the good stuff, and that's really what makes the wonderful flavor of chili. So, no, it wasn't that hard to do at all.
Good to know. So barbecue really is for everyone, whether you have a gluten allergy, if you are vegan, or if you are just a carnivore completely. So let's start wrapping up. We do still have a few minutes, so if anyone has any questions to come in, feel free to still put them in, and we will try and conquer them at the end. But we want to start with a basic question to kind of summarize this entire chat, and that is, when we are looking into starting with charcoal cooking, what general rules should we follow to be as successful as possible? I know that you gave us some advice in the beginning, kind of throughout the chat, but overall, are there some points that you want to let the viewers know that they should follow?
Sure. Buy equipment that you feel comfortable using. Get yourself a good meat thermometer. There's a great meat thermometer that comes to Barbecue Guru. It's also good to have a separate one to poke in different parts of the meat. Know your internal done temperatures and pull your food when it's done. And have patience and enjoy a cold beverage and have fun with it. It's the best advice I can give.
Good to know. Always have that cold beverage, and it is trial and error. That is great advice. Make sure that you don't give up. Keep trying and see what happens. So as we're finishing up here, what are some key takeaways that you would like to leave the viewers in regards to the actual Barbecue Guru products? Do you have a recommendation for the first Barbecue Guru product that they buy in regards to something that they're starting off, they're just learning charcoal?
Okay. So I guess the best advice I can give is really any of our controls will work with your cooker. It's just a matter of fan size and the adapter that's going to change. So take a look at our website. You can choose by cooker, so you can pick your cooker out and we'll give you the right fan and adapter. And pick something that's right for you. That's in your price point, that has the features you want. And all the fans and the probes, they all work with all of our controls. So down the road, if you want to buy just another control, you don't have to buy all the accessories that go with it. You can use what you currently have. And that's the best advice.
Great advice. And just so everyone knows, all of the advice that he just said can be found on thebarbecueguru.com. That's where you're able to actually go in, say what type of grill you're using, what kind of smoker you're using, and get all of those recommendations for Barbecue Guru products. And I do believe that there are tons of facts and questions on their site as well, in case you have any general questions that have or have not been answered during this chat and you are starting out with your new endeavors in charcoal cooking. So, Bob, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing all of your great insights on slow cookings and the wonders of charcoal. And I just want to let our viewers know that they can always share their stories, successes, failures, questions, anything that they want to know with barbecue, photos with us on the Barbecue Guru Facebook page, as well as on the Twitter page at @barbecue_guru. We are checking that constantly, and we love to get all of your pictures, questions, and all of that information. So thanks, Bob. It has been wonderful talking to you, and have a great evening.
All right, take care. See you all soon. Bye.